Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, November 21st, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And I'm here, and we're going to do, this will be my weekly show that I'll be putting on YouTube, where we're going to go over methane and sea ice and climate. And got a lot to catch up on. I had another allergic reaction to something today. It wasn't as bad as last Sunday, but you can hear my voice, and I'm going to try and get through this show. We've got a lot to cover. Now, last week, on Monday, I did a short methane update, just for the weekly update on methane. So now we're going to go over the NOAA data for yesterday, the 20th, for the 477/469 millibar reading. This is for the Met-OT-1, aka Met-OT-B satellite, in the morning. And we don't have the Met-OT-2 satellite anymore. That's information has been retired. So the mean or average was 1928 parts per billion. The high reading was 2388. In the afternoon, the mean was 1927. The high reading was 2595, so that's hopped up a little bit on that high reading. We're seeing pinks over the Weddell Sea, and we've been seeing pinks this week over the Western Peninsula in the Antarctic, also down here around the Ross Island in the Ross Sea. So it's coming up. And so here's our spreadsheet. Now remember, I revamped the spreadsheet so that we have on these two pages that we're looking at, it's just for the Met-OT-1 data, so that we can have some historical data. This goes back to March the 1st of 2019 when I started tracking this. So for the 20th, it averages out to be 1927.5 parts per billion. That's showing a decrease over last week of 3 parts per billion. So here you can see the blue line, little blue line going down. Now last week it went up 4 parts per billion. This week it went down 3. We're still 20.5 parts per billion higher than we were a year ago, and we're 58 parts per billion higher than when we started on March the 1st of 2019. So it looks like we did peak out here on October the 2nd of 1936. And I think the trend is generally downward, although I'll show you what happened this week. So here we were. Here was the data on last Saturday for the 13th, 1930.5. That was what the weekly show was. And then on Sunday it went down 1.5. On Monday it went up 0.5. On Tuesday it went down 0.5. On Wednesday it went up 2 parts per billion. On Thursday it stayed the same. On Friday it went down 2.5 parts per billion. And then here we are. For Saturday it went down another 1 part per billion, giving us an overall decrease for the week of 3 parts per billion. Now at one point here on the 28th, we were 25 parts per billion higher than a year ago. So if the trend is down, it's doing a lot of stair-stepping, meaning going up and down and up and down. But I do think we peaked out, like I said, here on the October the 2nd. Now we'll look at the CAMS data. This is from Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services. This is out of the EU. I have Saturday the 20th loaded up, Arctic view and surface level ready to go. Here's our color ledger. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. Now we've been seeing this week massive releases, much worse than usual. Here around CAMS, it was spinning out with the dark color and all around over to Franz Josef Land. It still is, see, in the forecast period. We're also seeing releases. See the wave moving out from Russia across the Kara Sea and the Barents Sea and up past the North Pole there. And also we've been seeing it pop up here in the middle of this East Siberia Sea. I'm assuming that's from maybe some blowouts in the seafloor, because it's coming up in several different places, just popping up. The higher readings, see that there's the yellow, and over here in the Laptev Sea, same thing. And Russia has some higher readings too. The background colors are at least the dark green and higher through most of the northern hemisphere. It's still really billowing here at Koktovik. I'm wondering if that's an oil drilling area, because we saw it, I think it was on my Wednesday update on Subscribestar, where I was looking at the nighttime layer on NASA Worldview, and all of this area was totally lit up. So it's like daylight down there. Totally lit up with whatever they're doing. So I'm thinking oil drilling possibly. So all this methane is coming up through the sea ice. It's not slowing it down. Now we'll go to the North Pole view. Here we can see the majority of the northern hemisphere looking down. Here's North America, and where you see these waves move out, these are signs of very high methane. And see, here it comes. See the wave? That's in the forecast period. California is covered up. And from Texas east, it's just not looking good. Here, this is in North Dakota, that area there. Here we can see Europe is covered up all the way to Spain and Portugal, the UK, Ireland. Here's the Persian Gulf. See how high it is around the coastline there. India is filling back up, and see this high reading spilling over into the Bengal Bay and here in the Arabian Sea. Very high methane. China, see the waves moving out around China. Again, signs of super high methane. There goes another wave bursting out from China. Now we'll go down to the Antarctic. It's hard to see the outline of the continent because it's mainly that dark blue, which is the next color down from the light blue. And as methane goes lower, we'll see mainly dark blue in the southern hemisphere as the background color. We're still seeing higher readings here on this western peninsula. See the Larson C Ice Shelf. And then look in the forecast period, see how this light blue just pretty much goes away. So that's a sign of methane going down. Now once it becomes dark blue down all the way down here as the main background color, we'll be able to discern these methane releases even better. But it is still coming up around a lot of the coastline. Here at the Brunt Ice Sheet, you can see it there popping up. And here at the Anomaly Ice Sheet. Those are some of the hot spots we've been watching. Now we'll look at the global view. And we're seeing even some purplish colors coming in, which is the next color down from the dark blue. Now the dark blue is 1800 parts per billion. The purple haze color is 1780. We can see that over northern Australia. Let's see, going across Australia there. Now we'll look at 500 HPA. So we see the darker colors, darker red, here in Russia. Also, it's come out away from Russia and China, and here it's over Kamchatka and this Okhotsk Sea, and streaming out across the Pacific, and see the reds covering the Arctic region. We are starting to see a little bit more blue pop in, which is a lower reading. Here in the middle of the Pacific, here's a blue. And here's total column. We can see it's highest here in China, and then we've got reds over a lot of India. Here it's high over the Persian Gulf. We've got a little bit of red. If we zoomed in, that would be, I think, northern Italy, and it's still red over southern Texas and the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, we're going to go through the rest of these pictures now. Then we'll move on to sea ice. This is sulfur dioxide for today. This is from CAMS. It's still coming up here at La Palma. It's still erupting. Over 2 months it's going now. Here it is at 500 HPA, so here it's streamed up over Europe, and here it is at Popocatépetl. But look at how it's hanging around in these higher regions. See, over the Arctic. Here's the ozone hole in the Antarctic today. We can see it's getting smaller gradually, and the navy blue, the dark navy blue, there's just a little bit left here, so it's thickening slowly but surely. And so all of this area within the black circle is in the danger zone. It's and then this east side, see, it's still thin, but that's not in the danger zone. But what we're going to see when we look at Climate Reanalyzer, this area, the northern part, there's a whole big area that's in the red zone on Climate Reanalyzer for 2-meter temperature anomaly, and so that correlates to where this ozone hole is. Here's the Arctic view of the ozone. We can see it's thin over Greenland and Iceland. We've got some thicker ozone now forming around. Here's the global view. It's still quite thin for a lot of the planet. Green and shades of green and down. That means it's below normal. And here's La Palma today. That's from Volcano Discovery. There's that. Before we go to sea ice, I think I'll go ahead and do the La Palma update. Here we were on Zoom Earth. Here it is It's kind of cloudy there today. Let's zoom in and see where the lava, see here's a new area where the lava is flowing further north, and it's still going into the ocean. We've got some hot spots on the ridge, it looks like. But we can see that the heat zone is a lot lower or less. Here is EMSC earthquakes for La Palma. Let's refresh and see how many there are now. 69 in the last 24 hours. And here's La Palma. We can see the movement has spread to the south, to this island just directly south. There's a 2.5 there. So we've got 2s and 3s mainly here. Depths from 10 kilometers down to 47 kilometers deep, it looks like. Okay, we'll refresh this, make sure we've got everything. Okay, this is on Volcano Discovery. Uh-oh, I hit something wrong. Here we go. Here's their update for today. Activity decreases a bit while lava flows continue to eat new land. Lava flow activity has decreased a bit compared to yesterday, and especially the day before yesterday. Observers reported seeing less lava on the upper and central part of the flow field. At the vents, a series of loud explosions occurred early in the morning at around 4 a.m. local time. Casa Martin's very lively and interesting journal about the eruption describes how these explosions were followed by a surge of lava from the westernmost summit vent, located above the vent that usually was the main source of visible lava effusion and liquid spattering, and the source of most of the recent surface lava flows, starting at the cone. This time the lava exited from a higher point, then traveled downslope towards the other vent, and from there into the usual channel that forms a ravine and channel breaching the western slope of the cone, and is likely one of the start areas of the complex lava tube system. It can be speculated that a blockage was in place at the vents that triggered explosions, and when the conduit leading up to the upper vent was freed, magma rose to the vent instead of the still blocked lower one. Explosive activity was intermittent as in the past days, but during stronger phases ash plumes were generated that still rose to 10,000 feet altitude, or 3,000 meters. This fluctuating activity seems to correlate with ups and downs of the volcanic tremor amplitude, which has remained at low values on average and on a decreasing trend today. Further downslope, lava activity was also less. The most active surface flow is the one between La Laguna and Todoque, wedged between the earlier flows labeled number 4 and number 7 on the map. Its active fronts are currently located between and west of the Montaña La Laguna and the Montaña Todoque Hills, where it has continued to advance over new land and covered additional 8 hectares since yesterday. Here's a video. We'll look at that in a minute. The total area of land covered by lava flows thus increased to 1,058.95 hectares, according to the latest published data from the La Palma government, who make daily surveillance and mapping flights of the area. Ground deformation has decreased from its peak in the past days back to only 6 centimeters vertical uplift compared to pre-eruption level at the GNSS station north of Jeddah station closest to the volcano. Gas emissions are still elevated, but also decreased compared to previous days. Sulfur dioxide was estimated to be around 7,000 to 18,000 tons per day, while total diffuse carbon dioxide emissions are around 2,200 to 2,600 tons daily. Earthquakes remained about the same as in the past days, with the trend of decrease as well in the last 24 hours. There were 3 quakes of magnitudes 4 to 4.3, 10 quakes between 3.0 and 4.0, and 49 quakes between 2.0 and 3.0. All in all, the eruption continues a slowly declining path, but it is impossible to predict a time frame when it might end. That's all of that. So we'll look at this. So there's the lava flowing down. Incredible, isn't it? So there's that. Now I'm going to close that. Now let's go to Climate Reanalyzer next. This is from today. This is 2-meter temperature anomaly. We've got browns and then blues right next to that, and then purples even in Alaska, and then browns over Greenland. See the red over the Antarctic. Worldwide, we're up 0.4 C, higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.7 C. The Arctic is down, it's 1.1 C lower than normal. The Antarctic is 1.4 C higher than normal. Southern hemisphere is up 0.1 C, and the tropics are up 0.4 C. So I wanted to click around, show the Antarctic. Look at this. So it's upside down to how we normally see it. Here's the Western Peninsula. Here's the Weddell Sea. And look at all this red and brown. This is right in the same area of where the ozone hole is. So that's heating up drastically. The melting this summer for them is going to be incredible. It's just, I can't even imagine. Now here's precipitation and clouds for today. We can see it's raining coming up to Iceland and on the southern tip of Greenland. And then we've got snow. The blue is snow, the green is rain. On up in the Arctic we've got snow there. We've got rain. Another system coming into northern Canada there. I'm just waiting for it to start raining in the Antarctic. That will be highly reported on, I'm sure. Here's what's left of what they used to call the jet stream, but we can see the big weird loops and breaks, and it's totally abnormal. And see how it's broken here in the southern hemisphere as well. So things are breaking down. Now we're going to look at snow cover in a minute. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly, and so we still have a lot of browns here in the Kara Sea and the Barents Sea, and here we've got some reds around Svalbard, and lots of browns still around Greenland, Hudson Bay, reds and browns, and so on and so forth in the North Atlantic. And see the red spot here in the South Pacific. This is starting back up. This happens during their summertime. It's a problem area. Worldwide, we're up 0.4 C higher than normal. Northern Hemisphere is up 0.6 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.8 C. North Pacific is up 0.5 C. Southern Hemisphere is up 0.3 C. And the Equatorial Pacific is down 0.1 C. So there's that. Now we'll move on to sea ice. We'll start, let's start with our Climate Reanalyzer images. Now this slideshow is going to go back 2 weeks since for these images here, since I wasn't able to do sea ice last week for you. Here we are today. I download these images from Climate Reanalyzer every day. So this is where the sea ice and snow cover stands right now from Climate Reanalyzer, and you can see where the regrowth is happening around Greenland on this east edge here in the Baffin Bay. Now it's thin, but it is coming in, these tributaries and this archipelago in Canada that's filling in, and it's still open on this west side of Svalbard, but it's coming in on the northern and eastern side. Franz Josef Land, it's got ice all the way around that now. We can see it's creeping back in the Kara Sea, and then it's all filled in. Now it looks solid here, but it's really not, and I'll show you when we get to NASA Worldview. We'll see that there are a lot of open leads. That's the big long cracks in between the big areas of sea ice that is still open. And there's still a lot of open water, even though it looks solid, but it's really not. And then here it's coming back in the Bering Strait. And it's come up to the coastline all the way around. And Canada and Alaska and Russia there. And no, nothing here in the Barents Sea, and still open a lot in the Kara Sea. So here we were 2 weeks ago on the 7th, and we'll just click through and you can see what's happened in the last 2 weeks. Now see, there was still a lot of open water down here by Canada, and see not much ice in the Baffin Bay here, and hardly anything in the Bering Strait. So we'll just click through here. And here we are today. So it's when it's 2 weeks like that, you can definitely see a big difference. So that's all of those. Now we'll go to the Navy models, their website. I couldn't get on it today. This is from yesterday, though. I download the Arctic models every day from the Navy website. So this is from yesterday. I don't have the Antarctic models for you to show you today, but we've got the Arctic for yesterday. So this is the sea ice thickness. And I've named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. The North Pole is right here in the center. And the dark purple is about 1 meter thick. The bright aqua is about 2 meters thick. And then if you see any green, that's about 3 meters thick. And if you see red, that's moving on up into 4 and 5 meters thick, just depending on the shade. So here we can see the purple all the way up to this Russia coastline, and here in quadrant 2, here's where it's coming down in the Kara Sea and filling out around Franz Josef Land. We're getting a little bit along the coastline here on the Russia side, and here it is by Greenland, and here in the Baffin Bay. See how thin that is? Not nearly as thick. Now here in the Lincoln Sea and the nearest strait, it's still quite thin. So that area, for whatever reason, is staying about the same, whereas a lot of the other areas are thickening up. This just isn't. It's about the same, and I don't know why that is. And then we're seeing more aqua forming here above Greenland, and then here in quadrant 4. Now this this area is what was left of the thicker sea ice after this melt season, and it's filling out. It's fleshing out into more aqua and darker aqua, and then the purple is turning to blue and so on, and it's gradually thickening up a tiny bit here in the Beaufort Sea. And here you can see the purples coming in these tributaries and even aquas. Here's the 30-day animation. So the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast goes out to next Saturday. So we can see what they're saying is going to happen this week. So I'm going to stop it at the end. Here we go. This is next Saturday for the forecast. And it's more aqua here, and it's just this area above Canada and Greenland. And more thickening here. See, it's coming back further out now in the Pacific Ocean, a tiny bit there, and a little bit more regrowth here in the Kara Sea and here in the Barents Sea. So there's that. Here's the Beaufort Sea sea ice thickness. So Alaska's down here, Canada's over here. So here's the tail end of that thicker sea ice. So let's watch the model. And you can see it going into the aqua, which is good. I mean, we need it as thick as we can get it. And then the purple is going into the blue gradually. So that's about the dark purple into the blue. That's about one to about 1 meter thick. And so what we're going to be watching over the winter time is how much of this ice slides down towards the Beaufort Sea. And National Snow and Ice Data Center, their site didn't have any new data up today. This is for November 20th, which was yesterday. No data. Here's the latest on their sea ice extent chart for the Arctic. This is as of yesterday. But now when they come back online, this will probably change a little bit. This blue line is this year, the dotted line is 2012. Here's our refreeze happening. We're running pretty much parallel right now with the 2012 refreeze. And same, no data for the Antarctic. And here's the melt season going on. So here's their sea ice extent for yesterday. So the blue line is this year. This greenish line is last year. The gray line is average. It's still, see how fast it's melting. It's kind of running parallel with the gray line. And that's all of those. Now, we'll look at NASA Worldview. I'll turn on the blue marble layer. It's a little easier to see. This is the sea ice concentration layer that I've turned on so we can see the ice. Let's zoom out. Didn't mean to go that far. Well, we'll just deal with it. So let's go back to 2 weeks ago. And we'll see how it's changed in the last 2 weeks. So the colors, that's where it's refreezing. Okay, here we go. And here we are today. So you can see we've had a lot of refreeze in the last, really in the last week there. So now I'm going to turn that layer off. And now I'm going to turn on the nighttime layer. Get my bearings, and we'll see what we can see at night here. Now turn off the ice layer. So here's Greenland. Let's zoom in. Wow, this is a really good view. Look at this. See the cracks. There's, like I said, a lot of these leads have not refrozen yet. See the cracks? That's the ice. So here's the Lincoln Sea, and let's see. So the nearest strait comes right down through here. Let's see. Look at all that open water. That's not doing very well. As far as the refreeze, you can see the pieces of ice. Now we've got a little bit of cloud cover too that we're looking through. But there's still, look at all this open water. And now we're getting into the Baffin Bay. And see how it's open along the coastline there. And along in here. So it's a lot different when you can actually see the pieces of ice, because, you know, the model just looks like it's solid. But it's not. Let's see. Okay, here's Greenland. Now here's the sea ice on the east side. See, there it is along the coastline. Here's the ice. See? Now here's Noaa Data. Look at this. So this here, that's the Yamal Peninsula. This is the Kara Sea. So if we turn that layer off, you see all these little lights. These are ships in the ice there. See that? That's in the ice. I think that's what that is. Or it could just be reflection. But when you see the lights on land, that's where it's communities or houses or something. See, here's a ship right there in the ocean. Right there, it's a ship. Here's the Laptev Sea. See all this open, and then there's the ice. See, around the coastlines, it's either open or pretty thin. Let's come on around. Here's the East Siberian or New Siberian Islands. This is Russia. Here's the ice. Let's see, that's either, let's see. So that's thin right there. Here's the Bering Strait, and it's just thin ice coming in there. So here's Alaska, here's the ice, see? Now here's Koktovik. See all the lights? See, that whole coastline's lit up. Here's the ice. See? This is the Beaufort Sea. There's, see the ice? And these lines, those are the leads that's in between. And see, they're trying to refreeze, but they're having a hard time. Here's Ellesmere Island. And there's the ice. See? So that's what we've got today in the Arctic. See, all this area is in the dark. Now, we'll hop down to the Antarctic, see what we can see. See, this is melting fast. Let's start down here in the Ross Sea. See all this open water? And here's the Ross Island. There's Mount Erebus. It's a volcano. Right up here's McMurdo Research Station. And there's the ice. That's melting fast. This is the Ross Ice Shelf here. Now let's go around to the left. Lots of clouds. Let's see. Here's the Thwaites Glacier. Here's Pine Island Glacier. There's the ice sheet there. Let's go back. Look at this. See the tongue. See that big long crack. That broke off a while back. See, look at all these pieces of ice. This is really, that's coming apart fast, isn't it? Usually pretty cloudy down here. Let's look up here. Look at this. Here's Pine Island Glacier. It's got a big cloud over it. Then look at this. Okay, here's the Western Peninsula. Now this is the Larson C Ice Shelf. This area is where that iceberg A68 broke off a few years ago. We watched that disintegrate after it went out to sea. This is the Larson B Ice Shelf. This is where we're seeing a lot of methane coming up. And the Larson A, that collapsed a while back. Now, down here, this is the Weddell Ice Shelf. This is the Weddell Sea up here. Look at this. See, that's the side of the ice because it's deep. thick there. So this is where that A76 iceberg broke off. Right at the beginning of their winter. Look, here it is. It's moved a lot, but you can see there's the shape. That's it right there. A76. Well, it's a good view today. So it's moving out. Here's the Brunt Ice Sheet. Here it was on Thursday. A lot of open water there. Now this is an area we see methane coming up to. Then coming around, here's the northern side. And the east side. Here's the Anomaly ice sheet. This is a really good view today. Look how that's all melted right up to the ice sheet. Lots of open water there. Now the east side. See, look at that. And then down here, this is the Totem Glacier. We've been watching that. Now that's under a big cloud. Let's go back. Look at this. Here it was yesterday. Remember the tongue? It's breaking off, see? Let's go back. There it was on the 7th, 2 weeks ago. So let's watch this whole area for the last 2 weeks. So there we are today, under the cloud. There's that. It's going fast, isn't it? Now, we'll look at some earthquakes. What just happened? 3.0 Lone Pine. That's in the Searles Valley Ridgecrest area I track. That's in California. Now we've been having movement on this Juan de Fuca plate this week. I'm going to go, let's turn on 7 days all magnitudes. This is USGS 1,873 worldwide. We had an Arctic earthquake yesterday, right up there by the North Pole. So yesterday or day before. And see these big dots. We had some 6s. A lot of 5s. Now, what I wanted to show is here. Now, this is the San Andreas Fault line that goes from Southern California up to Northern California, and then it connects with the Juan de Fuca plate here on the west side. We've had 2 4-range earthquakes in the last 2 days right here on the Juan de Fuca plate, and then just opposite down here. Look, and this is the Imperial fault line, which that's the San Andreas becomes the Imperial fault line once it goes past the Salton Sea. So we've got activity on the other end too here in the Gulf of California. Look at all of that. Lots of activity down here. So we're seeing plate movement. We've got 10 in this picture right here. Lots of 4s. 4.5 was the largest one. Look at all this activity. It's a wonder we're still here. I'm just amazed every week when we make it through another week. But but things are shifting fast. Gonna be shifting faster now. So now I'll go ahead and finish up by reading out of the Bible. We're reading out of the book of Mark. We're reading Jesus's life, and the red words are Jesus's words. Mark chapter 7. Then came together unto him the Pharisees, and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashen hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands oft, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brassen vessels, and of tables. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, Why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashen hands? He answered and said unto them, Well hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honoureth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. And he said unto them, Full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother, and whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, If a man shall say to his father or mother, It is Corban, that is to say, a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free. And ye suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, making the word of God of none effect through your tradition, which ye have delivered, and many such like things do ye. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, Hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him, but the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he saith unto them, Are ye so without understanding also? Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entereth into the man, it cannot defile him, because it entereth not into his heart, but into the belly, and goeth out into the drought, purging all meats? And he said, That which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and defile the man. And from thence he arose and went into the borders of Tyre and Sidon, and entered into an house, and would have no man know it, but he could not be hid. For a certain woman, whose young daughter had an unclean spirit, heard of him, and came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation, and she besought him that he would cast forth the devil out of her daughter. But Jesus said unto her, Let the children first be filled, for it is not meet to take the children's bread, and to cast it unto the dogs. And she answered and said unto him, Yes, Lord, let the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs. And he said unto her, For this saying, Go thy way, the devil is gone out of thy daughter. And when she was come to her house, she found the devil gone out, and her daughter laid upon the bed. And again, departing from the coasts of Tyre and Sidon, he came unto the Sea of Galilee, through the midst of the coasts of Decapolis. And they brought unto him one that was deaf, and had an impediment in his speech, and they beseeched him to put his hand upon him. And he took him aside from the multitude, and put his fingers into his ears, and he spit and touched his tongue. And looking up to heaven, he sighed, and saith unto him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And straightway his ears were opened, and the string of his tongue was loosed, and he spake plain. And he charged them that they should tell no man, but the more he charged them, so much the more a great deal they published it, and were beyond measure astonished, saying, He hath done all things well. He maketh both the deaf to hear, and the dumb to speak. Mark chapter 7. So as we head into these very dark times, we really need Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit. We really need them to cover us and to protect us and guide us. That's really going to be the only protection we're going to have. And if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it while we still have a chance. So I hope everyone has a good week and that you're safe. And until next time, I love you all. God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.